Welcome to a special edition of Allies and Brotherhood. I got a special guest today with my friend C Ray Knowles from Phoenix Fight Club and Phoenix Fit and Daddy Fight Club. And we've been friends for a while with some of our online. Jim Edwards, one of my mentors, is his good friend, his mentor. And this is what brought us to the relationship we had today.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to have a big treat going on today. C Ray, introduce yourself and figure out how we can get you guys what he stands for and what we'll be doing.
C Ray Knowles, background electrical engineering, but I've always been in the self-protection fight space. I started out 9 years old doing martial arts, and that's matter of fact, my engineering jobs that I got was I could travel and do it and train with other people. My first job as I got as an engineer, the only thing that set me apart from everybody else was I was a martial arts stuntman in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. He's closed the door. And I'm like, oh God. He's
okay.
You were in. I love the Turtles. He turned to a little kid right then. He's like, can you show me how to do a wrist lock? And just lost it. He's like, I don't have a job for you, but if you'll keep checking, I'll make a space for you.
Nice.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, the whole mindset of what I do, it was funny because my wife was like, everything you do, you live every single day. He said, you're on point. That's it. And never had any military training. I've trained a lot of military, done a lot of police training with all the jiu-jitsu stuff and everything. And it was there.
Absolutely, because it matches to the personality, what you stand for, and what you really go for with what's going on in the world. That's why I gravitated to you, because a lot of the times, some of the world is, into my world, like these men, this is why I have Boundaries and Brotherhood and becoming the 11th man, because men nowadays have become soft. They have become soft in a way where my background is I came from prison. In fact, I just did something with we had a 12-year anniversary Real Talk Youth program. But let me ask you this, Siri. What was the moment in life that you realized you have to be ready no matter what?
Oh, man. I may get emotional about this. You'd already hear it. I think it was 10th grade, maybe somewhere in there. And a buddy of mine ran a gun shop here, and he was an EMS guy. I said, I need a medical bag. He said, okay, we'll get you a first aid kit. I said, no, I need a full kit of everything that could happen, from gunshot wounds, whatever. He said, okay, we'll work
the whole shebang.
Yeah, whatever. I knew nothing. I said, you got to teach me. I said, but I need it by the weekend. And he's like,
what?
It's Wednesday. I was like, give me a list to go what to buy. I've got the bag. We're going to get it up. And he's like, why? I was like, I have no idea. All right. So Saturday night, we did it all and got it done by Friday. I had my kit, and I was like, I leave to go it's a place called Lake Artesia. There's a dance place. And I pull out of the neighborhood, and I pass the first couple of businesses, and I'm like, I'm running late, and I forgot my kit. I'm like, shoot. And I had this little voice that if I don't listen to it, it's always bad. I turned around, went back and got it. Okay. Long story short, several guys had been drinking, and I was like, look, guys, I'll give you a ride home. Let me give you a ride home. We'll come back tomorrow and get your car. They're like, okay, cool. When we came out at the last dance, walked out, they were gone. Pull out, we're heading down, and it was a cold, frosty night. There was frost on the ground and stuff, and I could see car lights. The line of cars had stopped, and car lights were going up into
the tree.
And I'm like, so I whip it over, and I could see there's a car overturned in a ditch full of water.
Oh.
So I pop out, grab the bag on, take off running down there, and jump in the water. And one of the guys, there's somebody in there helping get him out. I get him out, and I lay him down, and my back's hurting bad. I got to get up. And I'm like, no, he had a gash. So let me treat this. Long story short, I got home. They called me from the hospital, and they said, the doctor wants to talk to you. Will you come back? I'm like, yeah, I'm cleaning blood off him, but I'll be there. The guy had broke his neck, and he said that if I had not pinned him down and held him down, that
he's silver. He's done.
And guess what? He works out with me today.
Beautiful. This is what brotherhood is all about.
And the thing is, and I never really, we talked to what happened, but went off to school and all this stuff. I said, do you ever think about that night? He said, every time I play with my kids, he said, I think about you. And
you gave him the gift.
And then right after that happened, I told my dad, I said, I need a fire extinguisher. He said, okay. And he worked for the telephone company. So I'm not saying he got it from there, but Anyway, he came home with I said, no, Daddy, I need a fire extinguisher.
Big one.
He's like, yeah.
Real one. The big one.
So he got it for me. I would back down the driveway and skateboard after school, and I turn on my speakers, and I look, the neighbor across the street, she's waving and frantic, and I'm like, what's up? And I turn, she's, my house is on fire.
What?
And I'm like, pop, grab the fire extinguisher, run across, says, where is it? She said, it's on the stove. I open up the door, and the smoke's just rolling out.
Oh, man.
So I get face down, crawl into the kitchen, and this is a girl I had babysitted for when she was young. So I knew the house and everything. And it's on the stove. Take a breath. It was so black. It was unreal. And then I could hear it. I hit it again. I came back and I heard something go, whoop, and it was inside the pipe for the exhaust going through 2 stories. Fire worked into the grease. So I don't know how this happened, but I jumped up and I grabbed the hood and yanked it down, took another breath and stuck the rest of the hose up there and just it was out. I crawled out, opened the front door, and the fire department got there and just smoke rolling out. So those 2 things have shaped me into I got to be ready.
You are today.
Got to be ready. Yep.
I can see that in your posts. I can see it in the passion. I can see it just with your banner alone. One life, you got to stay ready because you might never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Never in your wildest dreams, because if you're not unprepared, a lot of people nowadays, they don't know how to prepare. They don't have the right mindset. They don't have the physicality. They don't even know how to be strong individuals. To me, and there's a place and a time for it. Having emotion, that's what I do. How does that change your warrior mindset into how you train your individuals, how your company is? How does your branding go? How does that book you just came out with?
Yeah, it's to me, it's a relaxation. To be, everyone's like, are you stressed? I said,
no,
I'm relaxed. My daughter has a new boyfriend, and he opened the door for her. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. But I said, what did you do wrong? He said, what did I do wrong? I don't know. I said, anytime you open a door for a lady, you step in first. You scan the room.
You scan the room.
Then you hold the door for her to enter behind you. He said, I didn't know that. I said, most people don't. My situational awareness is 3 colors: green, yellow, red.
Okay, coded.
Okay, so green is to switch on. It's a positive thing. If you look in my Jeep, there's a green dot. If you walk out my door, it's a green dot. It reminds you to switch on. Okay. Then it goes to, it's very simple, but the way it works is as you go through the colors, it explains it. Most people are not in tune. I was in Manhattan and watched a guy like this walk right past and step in front of a train and get run over.
It's ridiculous.
Got killed. Yeah, and I'm like, well, boom, gone.
That's what society has created. In fact, I just seen something similar last night. Guy's on his electric scooter on his phone, riding this electric scooter down the road. I'm like, you're a wreck waiting to happen. God. To me, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
I'm open the door. I'm going to scan fast because my spider senses, or for me, just having a shady pass, has to be aware of everything else. Because even when I put my back to the door so I can see, and my wife is like, why do you do that? I was like, you just never know, because I'm always going to be ready to either take action, because I'm the guy like you. When they had like some sort of shooting at the hotel, she called me. She said, do not be a hero, because I'm the type to go curious. I go, see if I can put bad guys down. You know?
Yeah. I've got a good story about this. There's a place that we go in town, actually, where I met my wife. She was a bartender there. And we walk in, and I'm doing my first scan, and I pick up a person of interest. Okay. So I'm like, all right. And yes, absolutely. Just like this, I never sit. I'm standing in a chair. I've got one leg down. That's just the way I stand. That's the way I sit. Yeah. And so we're sitting there, and his actions are not right for the situation, environment.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I was like, okay, somebody I don't know, everyone else we know in there, and he is clearly upset. I watch him, and I'm engaging with everybody else, and he takes a napkin and rolls it up. He had ordered a drink of liquor and dumped the napkin. He's going to put it in there? He dumped it in the liquor and then reached to put it in the candle.
Yeah.
And he was 7 seats away, and as he was moving to that candle, I went, pop, and rolled him, boom, and put him on the thing, on the bar. And everybody's, what happened? How'd you see that? I'm like, I saw it from when I stepped in the door. What was going on?
Because
Yeah.
he's out of place.
Yeah. They took him out
So
and
out of
banned
place.
him.
Now you're just watching his actions. You're watching what he's gonna do. You're gonna see
Yep.
the first move in, the intentional. Now let me ask you this, right? Why do you think men struggle with this type of stuff? Confidence or
Well,
living in
you know,
fear. What has done? What's your opinion on that?
I really think it's just never been considered. It's just never been considered. And I train a lot of people, and the funniest thing they say, they're like, "That's okay, but if I get mad," and I'm like, "What's going to happen if you get mad and we're doing this? You're just going to get your ass kicked being mad." I
They have no
was like,
self-control.
your temper has nothing to do with the outcome of this situation, and that's the biggest thing. I was taught from a young age from my dad, situational awareness. He said,
Awareness.
and basically, him and my sister were having a discussion. They got along real good at some points, and she was in trouble. And I was like, Dad, can I talk to you a second? He said, yeah. I was like, how do I never get what she just got? He said, don't surprise me and don't lie to me.
Too.
And I'm like, is there anything else? He said, this is most important. Figure out when trouble's going to happen and be gone.
Yeah, you got to be aware of that.
Yeah, and so that was the first part of my situational awareness. Okay, and we would do stuff as kids. We're like, okay, Dad, we're going to go roll the neighbor's house with toilet paper. And he was so cool. He's like, what time are you meeting? And I said 3 o'clock at the corner. He said, I'll see you there. And that's was my relationship the whole time. No matter what I was doing, my man knew what was going on. I was not
Of
getting in
course.
trouble with him.
Yeah.
And but that was the biggest thing and it's used it so many times. Like, all right, guys, we're going now. Something's not right. We're getting out of here.
Because it's like situational awareness, emotional awareness, learning how to control that even when you're in a situation where adrenaline might be pumping, situational might be something, you got to know how to control that. And if you're not ready for that shit, stuff is just going to be overwhelming and run you over. And then you're through.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this other one, right? Were there moments when you weren't ready, and what did it teach you?
Oh, you talking about me getting mad.
I have 1,000 hours of anger management, C Ray.
No, I'm just saying at myself.
I get it.
If I leave something, look,
I get it.
You see, this is a pair of pliers. It's got a strap on it, and I carry that everywhere. And if I forget my pliers, or if I got to go back and get it, I've gone and okay, I got to stop by and modify some pliers for me. And this is funny. The story about this, my dad used to, when we were little, I was 19 years old, we would hang the Christmas decorations in this small town where I live. It was really cool because I got to ride in the bucket truck and got the string lights, and it was just to me it defined Christmas. That was a start.
Nice.
My dad sent me to the van to get something, so I took off and ran over there, and there was this guy bent over inside of it. And the story's in the book that just came out. And I'm like, I snuck back, said, Daddy, somebody's in the van, they're stealing stuff. And he comes down from the bucket truck. He reaches in his pouch and grabs his lineman pliers, and he walks up and he taps the guy. The guy turns around and says some ugly stuff to him. And Dad went, wow, and broke his hand, broke it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I carry these so I can get that out of my pocket. That opens up into the pocket, but it really works for a good handle.
It's a weapon.
Oh, no, never a weapon.
What?
Oh,
no, it's a deterrent device.
If I have to pull his teeth, I can. Whatever.
It's a deterrent device because, and I see you got the bungee strap on there, so now it turns into something else.
Yeah, that's just it's a little cord that goes over. I'll tape it on, but that keeps it there.
I'm like, oh, this is something else, right? Because nobody does it. They're not carrying their phone. They're seeing a player. They go, he old school. He knows how to use this thing too. See, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Here's another one for you. What do most dads, because I know some of your audience is protecting the family, your audience, your avatar is all about, explain to me the PACE and what's expected. What is that? Explain it to the audience.
The PACE plan. This is something that I use in all kinds of situations. And if you look up PACE, it's a military acronym. I tell it to you by a story. Fire plan. So you're going to have your primary exit. All right. So everybody knows if there's a fire, we're going to go out this door. Alternate, we're going to go out the windows. We're all on first floors. We got it where we can get out the windows. The contingency is I've got the sheetrock marked on my bedroom and my daughter's bedroom where I know where the studs are. If I
In
have
case
to
you
go
gotta go
through the
through it.
sheetrock, I can go through it. The emergency is we're going to get out just any way we can, whatever it
Absolutely.
takes. But the thing that the military loses out on is the E. You know what the E is? That
Okay, what's
pace
the
E. That's what I've added.
efficient?
Expected. That's right. Expected. Okay, let's say I get out my window, my daughter gets out her window, but what's expected? I'm going to walk around looking her. What if she's walking around looking me? So what's expected is you get out of this house, you go to the stop sign and be close enough that you can keep your arm on that stop sign. Because if I get out there and you're not there, I'm going
I'm
back
gonna go
in that
back.
house.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
going
gonna go
back
back
and I'll probably die there looking you.
looking
But
for nothing.
yeah, so that's the whole thing. And we use it like she has multiple Jersey Mike stores and she was in Jersey training.
Okay.
So primary was her phone, and it went all the way through to where I knew that what the address of the hotel was, what the current 911 straight in number, and direct number to the hotel. So if I had to get in touch with them, the alternate was the roommate's phone.
Okay.
But everything we do that way, and it really, they used to pick on me about it. But once you use it a couple times, that's a different
No,
deal.
it's systematic. Systematic is easy for guys. It's systematic. It's easy. You take a small emotion out of it. It drives you. But let me, how does how do you train for something you hope never happens?
That's the biggest thing with Phoenix Fit. It's our fitness program. I'm teaching everything I've learned since I was 9 years old that is worth it to know.
The best
There's a lot of stuff.
nuggets.
Yeah,
The best
it's
part.
just
The
it
best
is
tactical real life.
distilled down as pure. I can do this. It's gross motor skills. This is
Nice.
why, and these are the steps. Because if there's a situation, I call a flight. I have a flight plan for it. Okay, and if you think about a jet, when it's heading towards another location, it's doing this. It's always correcting. The flight plan that I teach for this, no matter what happens, you know how to get back and heading to the destination of
Regardless of what
control.
happens.
Yeah. And
Because nothing's going to be a straight line. You got to
yeah.
be prepared. You got to be expected. You got to be efficient. You got to have that goal set in mind. You got to have that direction. You got to be physically capable and mentally and emotionally capable. If you don't have that, you washed up.
You got to have the diesel. You got to have the diesel.
The diesel.
So Steve Maxwell, world-renowned fitness guy, jiu-jitsu guy, a friend of mine, taught me pretty much everything in jiu-jitsu to start with. One of the Gracies were coming in to do a seminar here, and they had a death in the family. They said, look, get Steve. I didn't know who Steve was. So I'm like, okay, there's Steve. Oh, there's one in the younger group and one in the seniors. When I called him, I was like, hey, do you have a son? He said, yeah, his name's Zach. I'm like, wait a second, there's two Steve Maxwells. And I'm like, there's one in the young group and one in the old group. He said, yeah, that's me. Okay. I'm like, you can't be young fighting up. You got to be old fighting down. He said, yeah. I said, you're winning this? He said, because I got the diesel. And when he came in to work out with us, I'm like, Steve, I've never said this in my life, but you're the sexiest man I've ever seen. Whatever you're doing, I'm going to do. And we did a jiu-jitsu seminar, and then a couple of months later, he came back. I got a bunch of kettlebells and started training me on kettlebells and that whole thing. Yeah.
How long you been rolling around on the mat?
Oh my God.
And I know you started from 9, right? How long have you as an adult?
I've been continuously, I'm 56 now. So I've been continuously doing something since I was 9. I've never stopped. I got a job.
So that's a way of life for you then.
Yeah.
I never wavered.
Yeah. I've made my best of friends on sweat on the mat.
No, absolutely. Because I said, this is why it's so good, because you got to have boundaries. You got to have skill set. You got to control your emotions. You got to have, it's a brotherhood and it's camaraderie, because you're going to lay it on the mat. It's the same like any contact sport. It's like anything where you're going to give it, especially when you're getting tied up and you're getting put in a lock where you thought you didn't know what leverage was. You know what I mean? It's the same.
We did are you familiar with CRI? It's Child Rescue Initiative.
No.
It's a group that they go around. They just got back from Africa, but they rescue children that are in slavery.
I was part of another thing like that where they would go in and extract.
So this group hired me to train them for combatives this year.
Okay, nice.
And it was a cool experience. And I didn't know. I've got former Navy SEALs in there, Marines, we got doctors, we got everybody. And I'm like, how do I train this many people with what I knew? So I took, and I wish I had it with me, but I don't. I got it at home. But I took a mind map as big as this wall and put everything together. I was like, I don't know where they're at. And
in their stages.
And it was one of the best training experiences I've ever been a part of. And I was running it. Everything was just great. One of the guys said, you give me an M4 rifle and give me 4 or 5 guys, and I can do about anything you want. But the hand-to-hand stuff that you're teaching, I've never seen. I said, well, you think about it. I've been distilling this stuff since I was 9 years old. When I got my first black belt, my instructor, I love him to death, but he said, enough to get your butt kicked now. And that was in Chinese Kempo. And I'm like, Joe Lewis, not the boxer, but the kickboxer, he taught me how to do a rear naked choke.
Okay.
And I'm like, you mean I can choke somebody out that easy? Did a seminar with him in Fayetteville. And I'm like, dude, he said, do everything you can grappling too. He said, pick you up some Muay Thai, do everything you can grappling, and put it with everything, you know. He said, train every art you can so you'll know what the person's doing. I can see, okay, that guy does Taekwondo. That guy's this. That guy this. So
you can tell from the stance. You can tell from the pivot. You can tell from his footwork. You can tell how one shoulder might be down. I couldn't compete with today's MMA fighters because from when I started at a younger age, you have to have that rigorous stamina, the defense, the everything from wrestling to Muay Thai to Kempo to all of that stuff, to karate to grappling. And then now it's morphed into something much more different.
Yeah. Yep.
But you can tell because a lot of the times I applaud you for keeping up with it for all these years because we're the same age. I turned 57 in 3 weeks. So it's like, but you gotta keep in shape for the longevity. Let me ask you another one. How does Daddy Fight Club and your book is going to help propel the people watching this or the clips we're going to make from this?
Right. The way they go together, and Carlin.
Yes.
Okay. So Carlin, we were talking, and he's been working out with me ever since the cruise, and has done great jobs, just amazing. And he's been a part of Daddy Fight Club and me, some of the trainings I've done, he's been a part of it. And I was like, Carlin, I need to do the next book. And he's okay, yeah, you do. You need to tie all this together. And I wasn't getting what he was saying. And I was like, I need a title. He said, you've got it.
You have it.
And I'm like, what do you mean? You've got it. He said, look on the wall behind you when you work out. It says, one life, stay ready. He said,
that's the best tagline.
That's it. He said, that's it. He said,
that's the best tagline.
Now take these things that you teach to me and put the stories with them that actually build it. This is the experience of being on point and dealing with it and knowing how important it is to be ready. And then the next part of it, which really grew, is when I had children. It's that person to be in front of when the shit goes down.
Yes, absolutely. Because you got to be ready as a father, as a dad, as a male figure, as a masculine person, not like some of these. There's a discrepancy in what masculine is, what a real man is versus the modern man. And that's, to me, it just blows my mind. You might not agree with a lot of different things going on in the world, but you still have to stay ready as a person, as a man, to protect your family, because that's the most important thing. In fact, I just told my son, I said, if somebody, I told him, hey, for some reason, I said, if somebody touches you or tries to do something, you come tell daddy, because this way, he goes, what are you going to do, dad? I said, I don't know. You might see bad daddy come out. Because they know I showed them pictures of me with my braids. I said, but you still have to be honest and let me know, because I said, you guys are the most important thing, the people to me that drive me to doing something. How does that, what's the opinion versus stay ready versus hand-to-hand and concealed carry?
I've always got multiple things on me.
I don't have no more. So it's
yeah.
You in the country, you guys can do that.
Yeah. But look, okay.
Yes.
I mean, I could, let me tell you this. My pants weigh 17 pounds.
More?
Yeah. When I'm loaded out, I get 17 pounds. And I've got that much gear on me. But if I don't have it with me, it doesn't feel right. My pants.
Okay, it's part of your clothes already. It's part of you. Have you ever been in a position where you had to use it?
Yes, yes. See, I used to test it in high school, but one of the best little things that happened, it was probably 4 months ago. We were at a local venue here. A buddy was playing, one of the guys I shoot with plays.
Okay.
He's a lifelong law enforcement super guy, world-class shooter. And we sit down and we order a beer and I'm having a drink and I look and this guy's looking at me. And I'm like,
Staring or glancing?
yeah, he's just looking at me. And then he's sitting with a friend of mine.
Okay.
And he, the guy that I walked over said, "Hey, everything okay?" He said, "I'm not sure." And he looked over this guy, and I went back, sat back down, and I'm like, "Okay, something's up." And this guy is he's doing shots of liquor.
Oh
He's
no,
not. No,
it's
it's
not
not
good.
good.
It's going bad.
So anyway, he gets up and he starts to make a beeline. Oh, he lays back and makes some motions and stuff. And I'm like, I said, "I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you when we're not in the music." Anyway, he got up and made a beeline, and I stood up and put the chair in between me and him, and
Of course.
he just wanted to fight. He
Oh, he
knew.
just wanted to size you
I,
up.
oh yeah, I had taught his kids when he was little. He wanted to take the guy down. So anyway, he went down, sit back, and that went back and forth a couple of times. And then finally, I was like, "This is probably going to go down. I don't. It's a brand new place. I don't want it to be here." I said, "Let's step over here in the street." So we step around the corner,
You
and
you take off.
no, because it's so funny because I knew exactly what was going on by his gesturing and
Yeah,
everything else. And he turns back. I was like, he told me the story again that he wanted to tell me. I said, "Okay, is there anything else you want to do while we're in this alley?" And I said, "Because I'll do whatever you want to do."
you
And he
ready?
goes, "Not," and he goes like this and turns around and stages up
He
this
he
hand.
tried to cock you back already.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And I saw it and I
He
moved
telegraphed
back.
everything.
I moved back into the darkness. And he goes, he didn't even see me. It was just because the way the lighting
Oh,
was outside, it was
geez.
so funny. And I was like, "Okay, now you've tried to hit me. Is there anything else you want to do before we get out of this alley?" You know,
And you're trying
and
to
finally,
defuse the whole situation.
and finally I did de-escalate it, but then the guy got up again and they took him out and kicked him out for life. But it was
Oh
just
my,
that whole thing of being relaxed, knowing
yeah.
what was going on, and then being able to read those tales.
But then again, too, it's also comical because with the training you have for the lifestyle and the training that you have, and you see this where you have an untrained person, they didn't probably never even got in fights in school or thought he was a
Yeah,
bully, or
yeah.
at one time he bullied small kids and has still has a mentality, and he's gonna try and do that. It's like, that's just I have no words for even some of that stuff because I used to see that all the time at the hotel. It's like you guys are doing this, like you guys are telegraphing everything. You guys don't know how to fight. You don't understand. You're falling all over yourself. You didn't even know how
Yeah,
to block, and you guys are calling each other out. It's all jaw. I'm like,
yeah.
so let me ask you that now. For people that are overwhelmed with this type of lifestyle, what would you recommend starting?
The biggest thing that we start off when we do it for Daily Fight Club is instilling the situational awareness module. That's the first module. That's
The
the
first
most
module.
important, and that's what kept me out of that situation. And I walked
Yeah.
back around, and a couple guys said, "God, I wish you'd have beat him up." I was like, "But look,
No.
I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow in my bed. I don't have to worry about
You're
an
not in jail.
attorney. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, and look,
You don't
I
have
said,
charges.
and I got 150 people that just saw that I'm a nice guy and I can control myself.
Bigger picture.
Yeah,
That's
I've been doing it since I was 9.
the part that you know how to fight makes you not a fighter because you're supposed to be able to be the bigger man in a situation because you have all the skill sets, right?
I'm never worried about the guy I'm fighting. I'm worried
What
about
about
the
you?
girlfriend
Yeah, yeah.
or the beer bottle from behind. So
I,
I try to take ego out of
oh,
everything I do. And just I've had people just talk total junk to me and it doesn't bother me. Now you can't do that. You couldn't do it to you if you were with me, or you couldn't do it to my wife or my kids.
oh, yeah.
But I don't take it personally. No, come on. No, that's good.
It's so funny because once you see the type of character that is, and then you see the ones that's trying to flash off, and I
Yeah.
say, are you, what's wrong with you? You know what kind of mess you're going to get into? That calmly you explain this and that. You ready for it? Because the part is like, the thing is, you already be ready to stay ready.
This is a funny
It's so
situation.
natural. You know,
When we were filming the Turtles movie, we would film all day and then we would go out and train at night. And we were just totally hungry. I don't know why we stopped at McDonald's, but I was part of the foot soldiers and thugs. There was 18 of us that we used over and over to be the bad guys. They had turtles which had animatronics in it, and they were acting turtles. They couldn't do anything. I'll show you the pictures of it. It's great. They had the acting turtles, but then they had the stunt turtles that had nothing in the gears. It was actually the Muppet puppeteers that would control the mouse. So everything we filmed, we had to film it twice. One so they could talk, and one so they could beat us up. But we're sitting there, and these guys come in behind us, and we got gi pants on, and we're sweaty, and they start talking smack because one of the guys got hair down to his belt,
Okay.
and he was actually one of the stunt turtles, and he was like one of the wushu champions, just acrobatics crazy. And they was like, "I'll whoop his whatever." And the guy's standing right here, and there's a sign over his head, and he does a flip and kicks it, hop, and lands back down.
Damn.
And I'm like, guys, look, we've just done more to each other, and we
Right.
love each other than we're going to do with you, and y'all can't handle it. I'm just telling you, there's no need to figure out how bad it's going to be. I made a joke, and they laughed, and it was all cool. But yeah, I try to deal with most things with humor somehow or another.
Absolutely, because
You
that
know,
shows what type of person you. If you can make somebody laugh, comedians are the best people that can sell because they can change somebody's emotion in a heartbeat. And I
yep,
use the same exact thing. Let
yep.
me ask you this: what's the big promise working with you with Daddy Fight Club or Phoenix Fit? How can they find you? What's basically the offer?
Okay. The way Phoenix Fit came about, I was doing the regular kettlebell stuff, and I blew L5 and S1. Okay.
You did.
Yeah. So I lost all feeling. There's a magazine article over there on the wall from My Mad Method that talks about me rehabbing myself. And
Wow.
basically, at that point, I was married to a dance teacher, and we would go to Macy's every year, and we drive the kids that couldn't fly. So every 100 miles, I had to stop and just try to wake up the leg and do that. I was like, oh man, I had my push up board with us. This is something that we used. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ladder down from 14 push ups because I was doing energy drinks and we're driving through the night. I was like, I'm not doing any more Red Bulls. Good God, I'm about to die. So I did 105 push ups. That's laddering down from 14. The next morning, when I got up in Manhattan, I was like, dude, I feel pretty good. I was
Did
like,
it fire
normally it
them up?
takes,
Did it fire up
yeah,
the nerves,
no, it fired up the muscle
the
supporting it
muscles
where,
to stretch
yeah,
them
so
out?
yeah, so it would support it and then it
Yeah.
would relax down. And I'm
Yeah.
like, because you're in that hollow position and holding it. And I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna try this on the way home. So I tried it on the
Did
way
again.
home. Everywhere I went, every 100 miles, we travel at night, so I wouldn't sweat to death, but I do 105 push-ups, all the way.
Yep.
I down to Florida for
Interval
cruises,
training,
whatever.
everything else. And it,
Yeah.
wow.
And I started gaining on it. Then I started doing some decompression stuff. And I'm like, I really could not carry a laptop without wheels on it.
Interesting.
I was so bad. But I never stopped training, never stopped teaching. But I started modifying what I was doing. And some of the guys, you're doing different things than we're doing. Can we do what you're doing?
Yeah,
And
because
I'm
you're
like,
seeing
yeah. She's
they're
like, you're in
seeing
better
things.
shape than you were.
Nice,
And then I
nice,
figured
nice,
out,
nice.
okay, if my back is bad and I made it better, if your back is not, I'm a bulletproof it. So
Yes.
that's where, and that's
That's
where
a
Phoenix.
beautiful tagline too.
Yeah, that's where Phoenix Fit came from. It
Ah,
was from the fire. I rebuilt myself. Okay.
Phoenix. That okay, now I understand the Phoenix. Okay.
So anyway, I was not sometime after that, I got really bad pains in my left side and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. I went to the doctor, had an emergency heart cath, couldn't find anything. And about 2 months before that, a buddy of mine, we flew his helicopter to pick it up, his airplane, if you pick up his helicopter, or it's the other way around. And we landed at his lake house where they wanted to build a helipad. We walked in the woods and I got a tick on me. I got Lyme's disease.
Whoa.
I figured that out because I was making a rocket mass heater. I do a lot of crazy stuff, the engineer side of me. I was making a rocket mass heater and I was picking up a brick and the sixth one I couldn't pick up. It was all cramped.
It locked up?
It locked up. And then I can do this right now. And I can feel it through my elbow and to my toe. And it rewired me. But it
Nice.
didn't give me a superhero. I wish it would have given me something like if I could leap something or something. But so the Phoenix Fit is I learned how to fix me. And then by being fighters, everybody was hurt a different way. So I've got people rolling here
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
wheelchair, got one with one leg, just all kinds of. I don't care. I can work around whatever. There's no excuse
Absolutely.
that
You've been through it and you've done it.
So that's the part. And then that links to the Diesel story with the Daddy Fight Club. There's just something of the pride of, okay, I'm going to do stuff that hurts. I put a quote up yesterday. It says, I'm built for the climb. And you liked it. And
Beautiful.
nothing good comes from comfort.
No, of course,
We have to push it.
nobody.
Me and Jim are about every morning. I just killed it. And it's just, I'm going to push myself to the point that where everybody else has stopped, that's when I start.
Nothing great comes staying in comfort, right? You physicality, all that, nothing comes from comfort. You can maintain is a whole different thing, but I completely understand because if you're built for the climb, you can pretty much do anything. You can fall off,
But,
come back up. It's
you
like
know,
you can fall off, skydive, come back, bounce off, rebuild back up
yeah,
because it's like riding a bicycle.
Phoenix Fit I run 5 classes a week. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are workout classes. Tuesday and Thursdays are mobilities. Quite a few Zoom in with me at 5:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And the first part of it, we'll hit some type of core, and then we do what's called the push. And that's a 12 to 15-minute thing that
All
if you
out.
allow it, it just sucks.
All out.
And then after that, we balance everything out. I don't really get going until I see someone slowing down or someone is about to stop. And then it's, oh, this is when I start.
Whoa.
And this is the coolest thing I think I've ever, and it might have been Stu Smith that I got it from, or it could have been, but I'm gonna give him credit anyway. It was, don't listen to yourself, coach yourself. So when you're sitting there saying, oh man, this is hard. No, you don't say that to yourself. You say, I got it. But it's such a game changer when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, this hurts. No, I got it. This is where I see my reward. You got this. So
Once you get over
don't
that
listen to
threshold,
yourself, coach yourself.
once you get over that threshold, everything is gravy because now you push to another door. Now you push to
Yeah.
another realm. Now you push
Yep.
to another threshold. How does how would people what it was the book you just released, the ebook?
One Life, Stay Ready. So that
One
is the
Life Stay
name of the book.
Ready. Is
Yep.
that available yet?
We're in the
Ebook.
edit and it's going up. Yep.
So guys,
And so
you have problems, stretching, back problems, pain, and you want to get the mobility back. C Ray from Phoenix Fit is your guy. How can they reach you?
you can go to phoenixfit.com, daddyfightclub.com, CRayKnowles.com.
Yes. C Ray knows
So,
you're gonna see a lot of you. C Ray's gonna be a lot here with because he's part of my brotherhood also because what
absolutely.
we've been through and everything. So I'm gonna start pushing out some of his things. One of these trainings might save your life,
So
your family's life, and we're ended right there because you gotta stay ready. You got one life. Might as well
yeah.
make the best of it for you and your family. C Ray, close it out for us, please.
Also, one more thing
Oh
here
yeah,
is you see One Life Stay Ready. That's the website too, onelifestayready.com.
nice.
I buy all these shirts and stuff. It's my mindset and humor and whatever because it's all twisted. It's all twisted together.
Love it.
But that's the
Love
branding
it.
shit right there. So yeah, yeah,
You kind of
it,
disappeared, but love
yeah.
it.
So yeah.
One
So
life, stay ready. I love it. You got to have a little bit of twist for anything that you got going on in life because this world is sick. But
well,
at the same time, you got to be ready to deal
one of
with
my
it.
best friends, he was going through a terrible divorce, and we had so much fun on those mats over there, just laughing and rolling. And you saved my life, dude. You saved my life. You
I
know,
mean, that's what it's all about anyway.
yeah,
If you can change a person's life, if you can save a person's life, just the fact that you're capable, where it's like most people will turn and go the opposite way, which to me, I
yeah.
don't get. But that's the type of mentality you have. And
Well,
figuring out that this is what it's all about because you might never know. You never promise tomorrow.
this is hard to believe, but there's been 7 people in my life that ended up with me that were on the way to kill themselves. And it's just one was a former teacher, and
It
he showed up at the
happens.
studio one day, and I've never been there before. One was the sound guy for a show we were doing, and a year later, because he was going to run the stuff, and then he was going home and ending the ride.
Oh,
And I got a note. He's
wow.
this day last year, you saved my life. He said, he spent the week with
Wow.
us, and it's like crazy. And then there was one guy that I actually worked with me that he started giving all his stuff away. And I'm like, what's going on? He said, I'm leaving. I said, when you coming back? He said, don't know.
What?
And and
That's a
and
sign.
and then back in the day, he could do websites when I didn't know how to do websites, and it was all HTML. And I'm like, dude, I need a website for this push-up board, and it was pushupboard.com. I lost the thing a long time ago. I still make them though, but I kept him with me. It's crazy to be that lucky to influence people.
That's your
Well,
grace from God to help individuals that might not have the light in them right now. I just
I,
had my thing last night with the kids because now I had an 11-year-old girl. I told her from start looking at the dots on your ceiling, and she was in a bad place. I have a bunch of letters these kids wrote to me about all the years that I've helped them, and you don't realize how much you help them until they show their appreciation and stuff. For
yeah, well,
people, for brothers like us, it's natural, but for somebody else, you're that beacon.
well,
And
this is crazy because
yeah,
a guy that works out with me, he was a former vet here. He moved away, and he's man, you got to put your stuff online. And then when COVID happened, he got me for years. He said, no, nobody's stuff is like yours. He said, I've tried it all, everything. I've got to do your thing. And he said, I try to do it, but it's not you. His son was getting married. Both of his sons were jujitsu students for me up until 10th grade, and they moved. The younger one, which was a shorter guy, had a lot of problem with his size, but we worked it out. And it came down to one pivotal day and his brother and his mom coming in. I'm like, sit down. And it took about 12 minutes to go through it. And he finally turned him, and nobody ever messed with him again. He was a monster from that point on. But now he's a doctor. So anyway, we went to the wedding, and he saw me after the pictures were taken. He ran up, he said, you made me. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, your influence made me. And we were sitting at the main table up there at the wedding. I was like, how do we get the main table? He said, you don't understand it. You are the table. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just in tears. And I looked at Erica, and she said, you had no idea you had that influence. And I
you
didn't.
really don't. It's like, and that this is why I reached out because I know the type. I know Ray for the man you are because I have the same qualities, but people
Yeah.
tell me, and this is why we
Yeah.
gravitate, and that's why part of my this show is called Boundaries and Brotherhood. You have to have
Right.
boundaries. You got to have camaraderie. You have brotherhood. You have to be into it's forging unity built on purpose for a reason to
Yeah.
help other individuals influence the right way. Not this crap I'm seeing now, which is just
Yeah.
blows my mind still. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to let's end it right there. Any closing remarks? How to get in touch with you? How to reach you? If you're in the area, come stop by his gym, stop by his workshop, buy a shirt. You know what I mean? Gain the confidence. You're looking. C Ray, please end it. It's been an honor.
All right. To get in touch with me, C Ray, because my name is Charles Ray, CRayKnowles.com, onelifestayready.com, and everything else is linked together. If you're looking at a different way of doing fitness, a consistency program, a nutritional program, some of the results we've got are just crazy. The biggest thing is Daddy Fight Club,
Hey, Fight Club.
teaching your family how to recognize these things. Hopefully, we never have to use it, but then
But
having a go to plan that you can. Stay ready.
all right, guys. It's Gordon Watt from Boundaries and Brotherhood. Special guest C Ray. What an honor. Aloha.